Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 357. And this episode of What's Right with Nick Wright is brought to you by Boost Mobile. And our friends at Boost Mobile don't screw around. They saw Dexter, my dog, the last couple podcasts, hopping up on the couch and obscuring the Boost Mobile pillow. And now we have this fancy thing that looks like a light. Damonza, that's actually an electrified fence. Dexter hops up there, he's zapped. Yeah, for real. Like, they're like, no, we pay good money to be the title sponsor of What's Right with Nick Wright. We're not going to have some silly Portuguese water dog obscuring our advertisement. That may or may not be true, but shout out to Boost Mobile for the sick light. Damonza, how are you? You look great.
I'm good. Good to see you, Pops. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Big week coming up for Damonza, as the snake should be hatching anytime, and his baby sister flying cross country by herself
to
spend a long weekend with her brother. That should be great. And the best part of it is, when she arrives, I will be rolling dice in Monaco, and so I'll be unavailable. So you're on your own, pal. But it'll be great. So all that's going on,
good.
And I'm fired up today. I'm fired up today because, how do I say this respectfully? People are either dumb or lying or just think that we don't have access to their previous takes. And or just you know what I mean? The biggest indictment I could say, just trolling for views or clicks or content. I don't know what it is, but I do know that, I'm just letting you guys know right now, we have 8 topics listed for today's show. Topics 2 through 8 might be bite-sized, because topic 1 could take a while. But before we get to that, straight to voicemail, again, brought to you by our friends at Boost Mobile. Cam Little, 70-yard field goal. 2 takes on this, Damonza. 1, that is now the record. I don't care if there's the preseason. That's the record. That should be in the record books. And 2, I just upped the Jags to 11 wins. I had him at 10. I now got him at 11. If you get to midfield and you're in field goal range, I mean, what a weapon. Listen, your guy Chet, I say this with respect.
It's just
he's got to grow up.
The fit was a little.
Go ahead.
It was a little outlandish, but why is every guy that's doing something like bad or not great, why is it always my guy?
I feel like it's not
every
always
single
that,
time. It's been like the last 3 dudes.
Well, here's the thing. Do you or do you not feel like I have been too skeptical of Chet because I don't like how skinny he is? Were you not more pro Chet than me? So on this show, between the two of us, he's your guy. He's certainly not my guy.
Like anti-Chet. Yeah.
Well, I'm not anti-Chet either, but I'm getting there. And also, the Wilds was a big Chet guy, and then Wilds read an interview with Chet where they asked him about his favorite books, and his answer was just all coffee table books with a bunch of pictures. He was like, I've got this book on Rolexes, which is just pictures of Rolexes. And Wilds came to the conclusion that Chet maybe has never read a book, and so he's soured on him a bit. And now he's dressed like a 70s pimp at his buddy's wedding. Not great. And CeeDee Lamb. This is like funny because he's fine. CeeDee Lamb could have got legit hurt there.
Yeah.
Like that whiplash thing.
Back went all the way up.
Yeah, that was a scary moment. All right,
how about that ref, man? Weight room.
I know. The ref
He's running full speed, probably
running full speed and runs into him.
Yeah.
And CeeDee, is limber enough. So I thought the ref was fine. I was worried about CeeDee. Reminder to everyone, please like, rate, subscribe, review. In fact, do it right now if you're watching on YouTube. Click the like button. If you're listening to the podcast and you're not subscribed, subscribe. And if you are subscribed, it takes 2 seconds. Click little 5 stars. You don't have to leave a word review. Just give it 5 stars. That's all. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all that. All right, Damonza, it says the first topic is asinine quarterback rankings. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple QB polls came out, quarterback rankings, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So Bill Simmons debuted his quarterback pyramid, and he had Josh Allen at the top. Dan Orlovsky came out with a bunch of traits that quarterbacks should have. It was about 6. and had Patrick Mahomes number one in about the same amount of categories as Daniel Jones. So
which is
which one?
0. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 0. So which one of these is enraging you more? Which one do you want to hit on
Oh,
first?
it's definitely Simmons's, and we're going
Okay.
to deep dive on it because it is not lost on me that my pal, and I like Bill. Bill and I have a good relationship. But it is not lost on me that Bill Simmons kind of kicks off his full NFL coverage with a podcast that debuts a quarterback pyramid and whose main guest is Kevin Wildes. I'm not saying that this was a direct shot at me and, trying to pull apart first things first, but I'm not saying it wasn't. So I'll get to Bill in a second. But on Orlovsky's thing, listen, I'm not gonna argue with Dan. Dan obviously knows the quarterback position better than me. What I am gonna say is this: arm strength. He has Josh Allen 1, Patrick 2. No problem. I actually agree with that. And I actually think you could be tricky with that one. There might be, you might be able to say Herbert could be ahead of Patrick. Hell, I don't know if Joe Milton's eligible. Like, he could be, like, just the raw arm strength. Josh Allen 1 is totally fine. No beef whatsoever. Then it gets dumb. Ball placement. Patrick Mahomes, 5 behind Joe Burrow. Again, fine. Jaden, Lamar, and Josh. I think that's a good take. I think a lot of people watch Lamar, Josh, and Jaden, and they're like, they can just put it where they want better than Patrick Mahomes.
I was just thinking, like, how much of Burrow's is the fact that he has those crazy wide receivers? They're just going to be.
Well, no, I think Burrow is, like, dumb accurate. Because he has to be, because he's not very fast,
right,
and he doesn't have the strongest arm. So the only way he can be as successful as he is like, I think Burrow would maybe win the contest of that net drill that Caleb failed the other day. If they did that, but, like, made it harder and harder and harder, I think Burrow might be my number one pick. But call me crazy, in that drill, I wouldn't take Lamar over Patrick. Again, maybe I'm a hater. Next one, we get to mechanics, where you list 10 quarterbacks and Patrick's not one of them. And let me tell you, again, he has Lamar 4. Yeah, I watch Lamar play quarterback, and I'm like, man, if only Patrick had as clean of mechanics as Lamar does. I do. Like, I feel that way. I think it's a good take. The other ones, and again, like, if Geno, Dak, and Goff have better mechanics than Patrick, then maybe mechanics are overrated. But mechanics Patrick didn't make the top 10. Decision making with the football, Patrick came in 5th. Again, and then this is the one that really I couldn't get over. Pocket presence. Burrow 1, Lamar 2, Patrick 3. Okay. Like, whatever. I'm not gonna. I don't even know what we're doing here. But fine. That's Orlovsky's list. He has a more fine-tuned eye for quarterback than me, I suppose. I think it is. I disagree with some of those, but that's not my real beef. My real beef is with Bill. Because Bill debuts his quarterback pyramid and has Josh Allen at the top. And the problem with that is, and here's the problem with having as long and as successful a career as Bill Simmons has had, and a career that so many folks, myself included, obviously, literally grew up reading every single one of your sports takes. Because Bill's column was must read for every sports fan of my generation for more than a decade. The problem with having that level of influence and having that long of a career is earmuffs, kids. We remember what you fucking wrote. And for 15 years, Bill fought tooth and nail against the idea that anyone would ever, under any circumstances, consider Peyton Manning better than Tom Brady. Even though, for the entirety of those 15 years, Peyton had a far stronger case to be considered better than Peyton Manning. I'm sorry, let me back that up. Peyton had a far stronger case to be considered better than Brady than Josh would have right now to be considered better than Patrick. And this is where all of these quarterback rankings are going to be self-defeating. But let me just quickly, off the top of my damn head, give you the Peyton versus Tom first decade history. When again, a reminder, my pal Bill built part of his massive empire on the take that Tom Brady is better than Peyton Manning. If we go 2000 to 2005, Peyton has peeled MVPs, but Peyton is 0-2 in the playoffs against Tom. Tom has 3 championships. Peyton has none. Peyton has never been to a Super Bowl. So even though Peyton Manning, statistically speaking, was the far superior quarterback with MVPs, he had never beaten Tom in a big spot. The championships were 3-0. Then in 2006, Peyton not only wins he's already won 2 MVPs at that point, plays Tom in the AFC Championship game. Tom's up, I think, 21-3 at halftime. Peyton comes all the way back and wins the Super Bowl. Wins it. Beats Tom. The playoffs are now 2-1. Peyton wins the Super Bowl. And Bill, I think justifiably, is still, even though in that moment, all pros, Peyton has multiple, Tom has 0. MVPs, Peyton has multiple, Tom has 0. The playoff win-loss record is 2-1. The rings are 3-1. Bill is still strident, steadfast, correct. Tom's better. Seemingly vindicated by the fact that the next year, Tom finally wins his first MVP. Team goes undefeated. They look like one of the greatest teams ever until, as double-digit favorites, they get beat in the Super Bowl. In that moment, even though the rings were 3-1, the MVPs were 2-1, the All-Pros were 2-1, or 3-1, I'm not sure, and the playoff win-loss record was 2-1 in Tom's direction. In that moment, if anyone had debuted the take, Peyton has passed Tom because Tom didn't win the Super Bowl last year, Bill's head would have exploded. And then, by the way, over the next decade, Tom never beat Peyton in the playoffs again. There was a brief time in Denver where it looked like maybe Peyton had kind of overtaken the argument. And then Tom went on that unbelievable 2014 through 2020 run to cement himself as the GOAT. But every single football take we have heard for 20 years from Bill Simmons has valued playoff performance, doing it in the biggest spots, and if you've got the belt, someone's got to come take it from you. So when I saw the clip yesterday where the rationale for elevating Josh Allen, who is, again, unlike Peyton Brady, where Peyton had the stats and Brady had the wins, Mahomes has more All-Pros, more MVPs, better career numbers, 5 trips to the Super Bowl to 0, 3 rings to 0, and is 4-0 in the playoffs against him. When I hear the argument that Mahomes played so poorly in the Super Bowl, he falls down a peg, without the obvious follow-up being, why wasn't Josh in the Super Bowl, Bill? Because he couldn't beat Patrick again. And that is where, and again, I think Josh is the second best quarterback in the league. Now that Josh has a league MVP, I'm comfortable calling him a future Hall of Famer. I think Josh eventually is going to break through. I think Josh's ability last year to cut down on the turnovers and still carry a team that wasn't all that talented at the skill position, certainly on the outside, was wildly impressive. But we have to stop acting like these have been unfair fights or Josh hasn't had his chance. In back-to-back years in the playoffs, once in Josh's building, once in Patrick's building, Josh has gotten the ball late fourth quarter, down 3 points. The first time, he can only get them to not the edge of field goal range, but not a gimme field goal, 44-yarder if I remember. And that would have only gotten them the tie with a couple minutes left. Has a chance, finish the game, ball in your hands, don't let Patrick come back and get it. They come away with 0 points. Then last year, down 3, conference championship game, plenty of time. Can't get to midfield. So you cannot. And this is why the quarterback ranking stuff right now can be so frustrating for people. Has Patrick played in the regular season his best ball the last couple of years? No. But again, and I've said it before, I will say it again. If you want to argue, you know what? Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the league. I don't think anyone actually believes that, except for maybe Jalen's lovely mother, who dressed me down a bit the night before the Super Bowl. I don't even think Jalen believes that. But if you want to argue that, at least there is a case you can make. But for the other 3 guys, as I said a moment ago, the argument becomes instantly self-defeating. Burrow's claim to fame is what he did in the first postseason and a half of his career. Going into Arrowhead, beating Patrick, getting to the Super Bowl, then getting back to the AFC Championship game. And then he had a pretty miserable second half with a chance to go to a second straight Super Bowl, got the ball, tie game, go get a field goal, got negative yards, loses, and has not been back to the postseason since. There is no time in the history of pro football when there have been multiple first ballot Hall of Famers active in their prime where we would say a guy elevated himself to best quarterback in the league in a 2-year stretch where he plays 0 playoff games. Not eligible. Lamar, who is in the midst of arguably as good of a 2-year regular season stretch as any player at his position ever. When that player, to varying degrees, and this past year was the most positive sign, has come up against the other two guys who he is in the debate with for who's the best, and both games gotten outplayed by and lost to in the postseason, Patrick 2 years ago and Josh last year, he's not going to have it. And across all of sports, except for maybe there were some people arguing Jerry West was better than Bill Russell. But with respect, as great as the Mahomes-Reed Chiefs are, they are not the institutionally top-to-bottom more talented team like the Russell Celtics. We have never made an argument that when every single year for a half decade, one guy beats and outplays another guy in the postseason, that the other guy's better. It's again, for the entirety of Peyton versus Brady, when Peyton was a Colt, that whole decade plus, they only played in the postseason 3 times, and it was 2-1 Tom. And it was still framed correctly as if Tom held over him in the postseason. Imagine if they played 4 times and it was 4-0. And so, again, this is what I would ask my pal Bill. If Tom had beaten Peyton in 2006 and then gone on to lose that Super Bowl, and he was up 3-0 in the playoffs, and the ring count was 3-0, and the Super Bowl count was 4-0, and someone made the argument that Peyton Manning was better based on Tom playing poorly in this make-believe 2006 Super Bowl, what would your reaction have been? And the answer is we know. So can we please have a level of consistency on this? That's all. Honestly, that didn't go quite as long as I thought. And again, I'm not trying to act like I invented the pyramid style ranking of quarterbacks. What I will say is, if you're going to really do it, each level has to be one player bigger than the previous. You can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. That's not the idea. That's not how a pyramid looks either. And I mean, it's just not. I mean, that's a crayon. That's how a crayon looks, not how a pyramid looks. That's first of all. Second of all, my buddy KW could have given you pointers on that when he was on the pod with you. UFC 319 is blowing back to the Windy City for the first time in 6 years. Check out the fight card and get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Dricus Duplessis, pardon me, I've been trying to pronounce that all morning and I screwed it up again. Dricus Duplessis puts his middleweight title up against Khamzat Chimaev, who's a perfect 14-0. Who are you taking? First time betting on UFC at DraftKings? Just pick something simple like a fighter to win and make your pick. It's truly that easy. And if you're new to DraftKings, check this out. New customers who bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Don't miss out on all the UFC 319 action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code Wright. That's code Wright for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, Damonza, go ahead.
Mike Sandoz released his annual quarterback poll. This is voted on by execs and GMs and coaches, so this is the real deal here. The survey has your guy Mahomes and Burrow tied at number 1 with Allen, Lamar, and Stafford rounding at tier 1. How did some voters not have Allen and Lamar as tier 1 guys.
So here is what's crazier about that, Damonza. And this, I don't know if you remember. Last year in this poll, coming off the league MVP, Lamar was tier 2.
Yeah, I do remember that.
This is the first time in Lamar's career he's been tier 1. Last year, Lamar got 23 tier 1 votes, 26 tier 2 votes, and 1 tier 3 vote. That tier 3 vote's an outrage.
Yeah,
That's just an outrage. This year, he got 46 tier 1 votes and 4 tier 2 votes. Josh got 47 tier 1 votes and 3 tier 2 votes. I am not going to. Oh, it's as close to unanimous as you can be without being unanimous. There's clearly, what you saw is some of these executives, and you saw it kind of throughout the voting on this. Really, when they are judging quarterbacks, they are almost entirely just removing improvisation and running. And that they are purely asking themselves, and they even describe it. A tier 1 quarterback can carry his team each week. All right, so Josh and Lamar obviously are in that category. The team wins because of him. Josh and Lamar are in that category. He expertly handles pure passing situations. So I think that is where people found a way to discount Josh and Lamar, who are obviously tier 1 quarterbacks. My response to them would be, those guys, first of all, they're excellent passers as is. Now, I'm not Jim Harbaugh saying Lamar's the greatest pure passer to ever play. I think that's probably a step too far. But they are such dynamic runners that even in pure passing situations, they can make the play with their legs. So, I just think those are bad opinions. You know what I mean? Say it again.
Game's changing.
Yeah, game's changing, and their ability to they can just beat you in a bunch of different ways. It is you can't, if you wanted to argue, as I have in the past, there is only one. There's a tier above tier 1, and that's the tier Mahomes lives in. Fine. But if we're saying there's just tier 1, those 4 guys. Well, you know what? Let me back it up. Patrick, Josh, and Lamar have to be in it. I think Burrow definitively deserves to be in it. But if someone wanted to construct a case, which is kind of the reverse of what we're talking about on Burrow, which is, yeah, he expertly handles pure passing situations, but unlike the other 3 guys,
right,
he
can't
beat
team?
You. Well, he
kind of carries his defense.
I mean, he carries his team while he's on the field. Right, I don't.
He can't control what's happening on the other side.
Is tough, but that's not on him. But he can't. All the other guys can beat you with their arm and their legs. Burrow can only beat you with his arm, but he's so good with his arm. Listen, he's clearly tier 1. And then it gets a little tricky, which is, and so, listen, I just think those 3 or 4 voters that didn't have Allen and Lamar as tier 1, it wouldn't surprise me at all if some of them had, how many tier 1 votes did Herbert get? Let me look real quick. Herbert got 13 tier 1 votes. So I bet those 3 or 4 voters that didn't vote Josh and Lamar did vote Herbert, and that's just stupid. I mean, that's just flatly dumb. All right,
Hurts,
let's keep going on.
He was square in the middle in the tier 2, with 12 voters giving him a tier 3 vote. So is the Hurts debate put to rest?
Well, so Hurts got 3 tier 1, 35 tier 2, and 12 tier 3. And let's just give it some context here, right? After
we said Lamar got 3 after he won
league MVP. Yeah.
Yeah.
After the Super Bowl year that they lost, when he came in second in MVP voting, okay? So that was when he came in second in MVP voting to Mahomes. That year, he got 10 Tier 1, 38 Tier 2, and 2 Tier 3. Last year, after the supernatural funk year and the collapse at the end of the year, he got 1 Tier 1, 33 Tier 2, and 16 Tier 3. This year, he got 2 more Tier 1s up to 3, 2 more Tier 2s up to 35, and down to 12 Tier 3s, down from 16. I think having Jalen Hurts listed as a Tier 3 quarterback is stupid. I want to make that clear. I think that now the description of Tier 2, if you care, a Tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. He can handle pure passing situations in doses and or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above Tier 3. He has a hole or two in his game. I think that's a perfect description of Jalen Hurts. I think the actual description of can carry his team but not as consistently, can handle pure passing situations in doses, and possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above Tier 3, has a hole or two in his game. That, to me, is a perfect description. The hole is he has never proven he can be a high-volume passer that leads to team and individual success. But everything else he does at a super high level. And whatever demerits you give him on pure passing situations, the absolute cheat code of the tush push that, is unique to him, it would appear. When I say cheat code, I mean that in a complimentary way.
What
I'm saying, go ahead.
Like that would be a con, like that would elevate him?
That elevates him.
Okay.
What I'm saying
I was curious if you go ahead.
No, if you're going to knock him for, this is a point Wilds made yesterday, and he's right. If we're going to knock him for in 3rd and 9, would you rather have Matt Stafford? Then we have to give him credit for the fact that it's 4th and 1. You'd rather have him than any player in the league, right?
Yeah, like but is that him or is that the team?
A combo. I mean, I do think the fact that he is so strong and so tough and has mastered it, you know what I mean? Like, I saw Tanner McKee try to do it in the preseason. It was ugly. We've seen other teams, you know what I mean? So I think it's, I think it's not all him, but it's part him, part the team. But with all that said, the guys above him, like Matt Stafford's number 5 on this list. I love Stafford. Now, if Stafford's number 5 with an asterisk because we're saying if he's healthy, that's totally fair. And if you want to say you're going to knock him because, Jalen gets hurt and just, plays through it. Stafford's played through a bunch of stuff, but we are worried at this point with his age of him missing time. So be it. But I would rather have a healthy Matt Stafford than a healthy Jalen Hurts. So I think Stafford being ahead of him is fine. Jaden is tricky because Jaden, the sample size is just so
see
small.
Another year.
Right.
Ready to start.
So you know what I mean? Like Jaden it was the greatest rookie season ever, but the sample size is so small. And it feels like Jalen is a safer bet. But Jaden has a better chance of one day being number 1 on this list than Jalen, right? Herbert, we've talked about. I think having Herbert above Hurts is an outrage. I think that is just purely based on an idea. I would not have, and then barely ahead of him is Jared Goff. I would rather have Jalen Hurts than Jared Goff because I think they are very similar in that under the right circumstances can be very dynamic and a huge part of winning. But I think Jalen could thrive in more circumstances than Goff.
100%.
So I think Jalen's toughness and running would translate better to a bad team than Jared. So I think Jared on a bad team plummets.
And he's getting pressured.
And while
100%. Jalen might be able to run away.
Exactly. And so so I understand so if I were doing it, if it were mine, and I know that this is one where I've probably kind of over the last 6 months flip-flopped a bit, because at one point I said that you can't, like, it's Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and then if you're going to say it's a big 4 with Burrow, it's got to be a big 5 with Jalen. But even when I was saying that, deep down I was like, but I think Stafford's better. So if I were to just do the Nick Wright rankings, pure, just me, who I would like for this season, assuming health, Patrick, Josh, Lamar, Joe, Stafford. I want to make sure I'm not leaving anybody out. And then I would put in Jalen. I would put in Jalen at 6. Jalen 6. Jaden 7. Baker 8. And then after that, we could have a debate about Herbert versus Goff. But that's where I would, you know what I mean? That's where I would have it. And then after them, we have a debate about CJ versus Love versus Dak. And then obviously I'm going to start elevating my guys, Caleb and Trevor, but they got to prove it. And so that's where I would rank them. And I think that is, so I didn't think any of these were crazy out of line. All right, let's go to Rodgers.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you want to talk about Rodgers going from tier 1 to tier 3?
So I was shocked that Rodgers was tier 1. Oh, so this has been, wait. Okay, so this is what's interesting. So here is Rodgers over the years. So Rodgers going into his final year in Green Bay. Unanimous tier 1. Obvious. I think he was the back-to-back defending league MVP. Unanimous tier 1. Rodgers going into his first year with the Jets. 30 tier 1, 20 tier 2. That, again, to me, was fair. I would have put him tier 2 because I thought his last year in Green Bay, you saw the writing on the wall. And you saw it in evidence by his stats, the team success, a lot of that stuff. But he was still just a year removed from being a 2-time MVP. Going into last year with the Jets, this was a very interesting, looking back on it, voting. Damonza, going into last year, again, where he was coming off the blown Achilles, he got 23 tier 1 votes.
It's like, oh, poor guy, he tore his Achilles.
And he's going to be fine, right? He's going to come back with a vengeance. 18 tier 2 votes. 7 tier 3 votes, and 2 tier 4 votes. I'd have to ask Sando, and I could probably go back and read the article. I'm not going to do it right now live on the air. Was he the first player ever to get multiple votes in 4 different tiers? To get, multiple tier 1 and tier 4 votes. So last year, going into last year, he ended up averaging out. That was interesting. Last year, he got more votes for tier 1 than any other tier, but he averaged out to a tier 2 player, quarterback. And this year, so weird.
There was one guy that gave him a tier. He got 1 tier 1 vote this year too, by the way.
Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Okay, not so weird. So this year he got 1 tier 1 vote. That guy's out of his mind.
Yeah.
That's just idiotic. He got 16 tier 2 votes. I can't call that idiotic, but I disagree. 27 tier 3 votes, just where I would have him. And then 6 tier 4 votes, which is folks that think that he's just finished.
Right.
But where he is as far as in the hierarchy, so tier 3 quarterbacks are in order: Kyler, Aaron, Tua, Trevor, Geno, Nix, Darnold, May, Caleb, Bryce, Kirk. Those are the tier 3. For me personally, the quarterbacks I would rather have than Aaron, every single one of the guys tier 1 and 2. So that's 14. And then I would rather have this year Geno, Drake, Caleb, Trevor, Tua. And that's probably it. Not Bo Nix, not Kyler, and not Darnold or Bryce or Kirk. So I would have him closer to the middle of tier 3. Go ahead.
Apparently, Rodgers was actually number 2 in tier 2, number 7 overall.
Yeah, last year.
Oh, okay.
That's last year. So that's what I was saying. Last year he got more votes. He got more tier 1 votes than any other tier, but because he also got tier
like
3
a 4,
and tier 4
right?
votes,
Yeah.
he got, dinged down and dropped to tier 2. But yeah, so I would have him close to 20. They have him 15. The Kyler one's interesting. Because I think having Kyler at almost a tier 2 guy and ahead of all those other guys, the young players that, you expect to pop ahead of Geno, ahead of Rodgers, I think is interesting. I mean, I just wouldn't. I just don't.
He's like low tier 3.
Yeah, to me he is, but maybe I'm low on him. But I just, you give him credit because last year he was able for the first time in 4 years to play all 17. But I just feel like at this point we kind of know what we're getting from Kyler, and he's a player that once...
You don't like him. He's too small.
Well, there is that. But it's also true that once you start seeing Thanksgiving decorations up at the stores, he's not going to be playing well. I mean, it's just who he's been for his career. He's good for about the first half of the season. And that, to me, is like, I don't know why that would change. Like, and so I think that I'm not as high on Kyler. I respect the talent, but I care. You're right about this, Damonza. I care about raw talent way less with very small players.
Yeah,
I just do.
I mean, that was like the best high school football player like ever. Football quarterback.
Yeah, no, the best. Yeah, I mean, no, he was the best. Um, and he was a hell of a college player as well.
Yeah.
And he's had moments in the pros. And maybe it was as simple as high school and college seasons are 12 games long. You know what? Mark this down. If we ever have another strike-shortened NFL year, I might bet on Kyler. They come back and they're like, oh, it's only a 10-game season plus the playoffs this year. I might be a Kyler guy that year.
Makes sense.
But for the time being, I would have him low tier 3.
Do you want to get to that last one, or I want to just
sure. Go ahead.
What are some quarterbacks you seeing going up a tier this year, and who are some quarterbacks you see going down a tier?
All right, so let me look at the full list again. I've opened this thing up so many times that now I've got
5
too
of
many
them
tabs.
out.
I do this sometimes. All right. So let me maximize this so I can look at this better. I think that going up a tier, so gosh, this is a tough one. I think that Caleb will be tier 2 going into next year. I think that Rodgers will be off the list because I think he'll be done. I think that Purdy will probably be tier 3. He's hanging on for dear life in tier 2 right now. And I don't think the Niners are going to be excellent this year. And I think that who do I think could jump into tier 1? You know what? I might go all in on this team this year. Bake Show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think the Bucks could have a monster offensive season. And that I think potentially could elevate Baker. And especially if Stafford is dinged, I think Stafford, it was very weird for Stafford, who had been tier 2 Damonza for 11 straight years. And then this is the year he gets elevated. Yeah. When he wasn't great in last year's regular season. He was awesome in their 2 playoff games. Yeah. But wasn't great in last year's regular season.
Jordan Love. Up to a tier. I mean, but 2 to 1.
2 to 1's hard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the... But, I am curious. Like, let me ask you this. And the answer might be none of the above. But no, I'm not going to allow that. You have to say a name. Okay. And I won't be mad. Of the 4 guys who were all either unanimous or close to it, tier 1. Patrick, Joe, Josh, Lamar. Who do you think is at most risk?
Most risk
to move down.
I think it'd be Joe Burrow, just because if they don't make the postseason again this year, then so what are we gonna say at this point?
I agree.
I mean, maybe it's the defense again, but
I agree, but I think it's for a different reason. I think the only thing that could move Joe down is if he gets hurt again. And I think given their offensive line and given his history, I think he's the most, obviously, of the big 4, he's the most likely to miss time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? And so that would be my answer. All right, let's talk Shedeur.
Shedeur, he looked pretty good. I mean, he didn't look fantastic, but he looked pretty good for a rookie quarterback. Yeah. He went there and did his thing. Head coach Kevin Stefanski still hasn't committed to Shedeur. So do you think that he showed everything he needed to do to get the starting job? What do you?
Well, he's definitely not going to be their week 1 starter. That is going to be Joe Flacco. I don't even think, by the way, if I were Shedeur, I know he can't say this, I wouldn't even want to be the week 1 starter. Like, I would, the Browns open with the Ravens, and then they play, I'm sorry, the Browns open with the Bengals, so I wouldn't actually hate that because of the Bengals defense. But then they go Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers. Like, those are not defenses I'm interested in playing right
Let
off.
Flacco gets beat up a bit.
Exactly right.
We'll come in there.
And I understand that the Browns just released their latest depth chart, and Shedeur is still number 4. They did not move him up at all. I don't believe it. I think that Shedeur has now, if we are being fair, it is now Dylan Gabriel who is chasing Shedeur in the quarterback competition instead of vice versa. Like, the old adage, you don't lose your job due to injury, is total BS. Happens in sports all the time. People lose their job because of injury and because the guy who fills in for you shows something he didn't have the opportunity to show before. And so if Flacco is just entrenched at 1, which I think he is, Kenny Pickett was 2 and is 2 on the latest depth chart. He's been hurt the last couple weeks of camp. Doesn't look like he's going to play at all. He didn't play in their first preseason game. Doesn't look like he's going to play in their second. Dylan Gabriel is 3. Gabriel, according to all reports on the ground, has been bad in practice and was injured for the first preseason game. Shedeur's 4. He's practiced well, and I thought made 4 very high-level throws in that game and really only made a couple bad mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I think that is enough to where he should have taken the lead on Gabriel. And the goal for either of these rookies flatly needed to be beat out the other rookie. So when Flacco inevitably gets benched, I'm the guy they go to. Now, maybe they'll go to Pickett, but I think that would be asinine. And so, I also think this, Damonza. I think Gabriel will and should start preseason game number 2. And then, he can, if he plays well,
and just give both of them a half. Yeah, give both of them a half.
I think that's what they'll do. I could even see him go, Damonza, quarter.
Okay.
You know what? Thereabouts. Like, I could see Gabriel playing, then Shedeur, then Gabriel back in, then Shedeur. That way, you know what I mean? You get more time with starting caliber players or, guys that are actually going to make the team or they each get it. But I now think Shedeur is now amongst the rookies in pole position. And I also think that, and this is why. So I thought after the game, him saying something to Tony Grossi was totally fine. And I think people don't recognize how common that is. That guys saying after games in locker rooms or in the tunnel to reporters like, hey, what was up with that? That has happened forever. That used to happen to me. I remember Matt Castle saying to a different media member, we're both standing there, when he realized that media member, you know what? I think it was to Mark Carman, our friend, whose birthday was actually yesterday. I think it was to Carm that he said to him, this is your buddy about me? He's like, yeah. He's like, he sure talks a lot of shit, doesn't he? Like, did not like some of the things I had said about him. That's super common. So I have no problem at all with Shedeur having that moment with Tony Grossi.
At this time, though, like, is that really what you need to be worried about?
So here is the thing on that. I think the smile and the laugh at the end made it okay. And I think that, like, charisma and charm and a great smile can really carry
look pretty
people
genuine too.
And so like that to me was fine. I thought the walk-in was a misstep. I didn't think it was a grievous error, but I thought, I'm not asking you to be someone you're not, but turn down the volume on literally on the boombox, I guess, and also figuratively. Now, I understand those were his teammates, not his entourage, but still, you're the quarterback. the guy carrying the giant walking stick staff and the boombox, I might have been like, can we not do that? And if you really want to walk in like that, maybe I'll go in, a little bit after you. Because it's if the Browns won't elevate him on their real depth chart, then he also wants another team to trade for him.
Yep.
And so I just don't think that helps.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a huge deal. You'd certainly rather him play well and have an awkward pre and post game than be perfect pre and post game and play poorly.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, with that take, you were saying that maybe he should show out for the Rams, or maybe the Rams look at him, because words like a mortal chamber are being thrown around, and it's very serious.
I don't
so,
love it.
Do you think that's more of a possibility now? Like, it's seeming more and more serious.
I think that right now, he's probably worth, he was drafted with a 5th. I think he's worth at least a 4th. You know what I mean? And so, but I think the Browns want to keep him. I think Stefanski might be coming around if he wasn't already there. And I think you had to be impressed by how he handled himself and how he played
100%.
This Sunday. Was it Sunday? Saturday? Friday? It was Friday. Actually.
It was Thursday or Friday.
All right. Hey, guys. I'll talk to you about my friends at Boost Mobile. Ever sign up for a phone plan thinking, wow, great price. And then a few months later, it's like, surprise, bill's even higher. With Boost Mobile, you pay $25 a month forever. That's unlimited talk, text, and data starting at just $25 a month. No price hikes, no contract, forever. Plus, Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network. They've invested billions building 5G towers across the country. Visit boostmobile.com or head to your local Boost store today and get unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month forever. 5G speeds not available in all areas. After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan. All right, Damonza, hey, let's go to Caleb. We talked enough Chiefs earlier, so we can move on to Caleb if we can.
Caleb Williams did not play it down in the preseason game, and Ben Johnson is not worried about that at all. He said, and quote, "There is no substitute for real live bullets. I get that, but at the same time, when you can accumulate 70-plus reps in a day, that's pretty good. If live action is the best option here, then why not?"
Plays, guys. So listen, yeah. I think, and I've said this on TV a dozen times, so I will, repeat myself here. I think sometimes you hear like, it's a copycat league. Certain things should be copied. The way Andy Reid handles training camp and preseason should be copied. The Chiefs every year are sharper to start the year than most of the rest of the league. Andy runs a tough training camp. They hit. They have long practices. And Patrick plays in the preseason. And the starters play, and they're ready to go. So I would copy that. All right? A lot, Sean McVay, who I think is the second best coach in football, does the exact opposite and has for years. Puts guys on ice, and, that's that. So there's obviously not a perfect way to do it. I would copy Andy's. With that said, everyone is making this a Caleb story. Ben Johnson did not play. They have left tackle's not determined yet for the Bears, starting left tackle. So they played everybody who's competing for that. Their other offensive line spots, left guard, center, right tackle, we know who the starters are. Those guys played 0 snaps. Their starting running back played 0 snaps. Their starting tight end played 0 snaps, and their 3 top receivers played 0 snaps. If you are deciding institutionally the starters aren't playing, then you obviously can't throw Caleb out there. You're not going to throw Caleb out there behind your second and third string offensive line and be like, all right, figure it out, buddy. Now, like Drake May played. He threw 5 passes. I do think when you do it this way, it means preseason game 2, Caleb should play a fair amount. And do I think that they are hiding Caleb? No. Do I think that Ben wants nothing but positive vibes headed into the season? And after using the training camp to kind of break guys down a bit, he wants a little more time to build them back up before people see them? I do think that. But do I think that this decision was based on how Caleb has played thus far this training camp? I do not. And so I think that he had made his decision on how he's going to play his guys this preseason, and he's trying to stick to it. Now we'll see how well that works, but Colin had a great caption of it because I thought it was so funny. Hold on. And then there's a good little Shams note that I'm going to read you guys in a second as well. So here's what Colin said yesterday about Caleb. Gosh darn it. Sorry. When tech companies delay the release, it's usually because you're still in the beta stage. Colin's way of saying he's not ready for the bright lights. I think that is probably too harsh. And I think that I do think that the first month of the season could be a little rocky. I do like the regular season. I don't think it's going to come off flying out of the gate. Maybe he will, but I think that I believe in Caleb's talent, and I think Ben Johnson's very sharp offensive mind, and I think the Bears patched their holes on the offensive line, so I think they'll be fine. But
not doing their best to make it the most fine it could possibly be.
Well, I don't know about
the
that.
Season.
I mean, again, he obviously wants them to be as good as possible, as early as possible. Maybe he's wrong, but he thinks that this is the right path. We'll see. So Shams just tweeted, Wick Grusbeck will no longer stay on as governor of the Celtics as part of the Celtics' $6.1 billion sale to Bill Chisholm. Plan had been for Grusbeck to remain through 2028. Chisholm assumes governor title, and the transfer will be finalized soon. Guys, this is... Cuban sells the team, and he's like, I'm going to run it, though. And he's out immediately. Grusbeck sells the team, and it's like, no, but I'm going to run it for the next couple years. And he's out immediately. Jeannie Buss sold the team. And everyone's like, oh, but she's going to stay in charge for 5 years. We'll see. People tend to not, again, I am not
over under 2 years
business psychologist, and I don't run in billionaire circles. But in my limited experience, people don't spend 10, 11 figures on something to not be in charge of it. It's just not. People don't buy a $60 video game to not play it. They don't buy a $6 billion basketball team to let someone else make the decisions. And so I was skeptical when I saw Cuban say it years ago. I was even more skeptical when I saw Wick Grusbeck say it. And I am extra skeptical about Jeannie Buss running the Lakers for 5 years after all of this.
Over under 2, though. 2 years.
Oh. Damonza.
Wait, what's
Look
going
at
on?
this. Throw it on the screen.
Oh, my God.
Packers quarterback Jordan Love is undergoing a procedure on a ligament issue with his left thumb. Oh, left thumb. Suffered the injury in Green Bay's preseason opener. The team is hoping Love can return to practice next week, and the Packers expect him to be ready for the regular season opener. Left thumb is not as much of a concern.
Yeah.
A surgery on the right thumb would be highly concerning. Here's the thing, though, as I've said before, I don't trust insider injury reports.
Yeah.
Every surgery's out of schedule. Every body avoided disaster. Everyone's going to be ready week 1. I have a hard time digesting it. Anybody seen Najee Harris? I saw a picture of Najee Harris. It looks like he can't open an eye. And so I'm just, no, for real. That picture of Najee Harris was scary looking. Looked like he really hurt his eye with the fireworks. And so I just, I hope he's fine, because last year got a little, derailed is too strong. Last year got off to he didn't have the year a lot of people thought he was going to have, and a lot of people thought that was because he suffered that injury early on. All right, Damonza, let's go to the listener questions.
T asks, where do you think Allen and Lamar rank all time right this moment, just as quarterback talents? I'd say both top 15. Side question, are the smelling salts going to ruin your life?
Smelling salts are not going to ruin my life, but, strong recommend if people haven't tried them yet, especially if you're like maybe trying to kick caffeine or something. Like I haven't read into the potential downsides of huffing ammonia occasionally, but it sure woke me up. Where do Lamar and Allen rank just as quarterback talents? What an interesting question. Top 15 sounds right. Like, if I were ranking just raw talent.
Quarterbacks ever?
That's what they're saying. They're saying all time. Mahomes, Rodgers are, to me, the top 2.
Lamar's got to be like top 10 at least. Same thing, but I feel like both those guys, those are electric dudes as far as just talent. Like, maybe not winning Super Bowl, all that stuff.
No, yeah.
Those are...
Yeah, so I think so raw talent, Mahomes, Rodgers, Favre has to be up there. Manning has to be up there. It's a compliment to Brady that we're not even, like, saying him with all of his success, because... he maximized everything about his physical ability. Marino's got to be up there. I always have had a soft spot for Steve Young. John Elway's up there. And now we can start talking Lamar and Josh. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, in that bottom part of the top 10, firmly in the top 15, I think that's right. All right, let's go to Ethan.
Ethan asks, as a poker expert who understands the principle of the plus EV, I'm curious if you take the same approach into sports gambling, or if you trust your own personal bias over sharp books.
I don't look at sports betting the way I look at poker, just for the record. Like, I don't, while I do try every year to give out winners and to, make you guys money, I am
a little bit more conservative with poker?
No, I don't know a bit. No, I just look at it like poker, I am trying to make the best decision at every point. Sports, I have a very hard time betting against my takes. You know what I mean? I won't always bet on my takes, but like it's why I'll never, even if I'm getting points, bet against the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Right. So like there are just certain things but I also, this is how I would recommend it for other people, look at sports betting as a recreational endeavor, not like, hey, this is how I'm going to make extra money. Poker's different in that regard for me. All right, let's keep going.
Michael asks, is Jackson better than Prime Vic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love Mike, but yes. Lamar is already a far better passer than Mike ever was. Just, you know what I mean? He just is. And I love Mike, but I think Mike would tell you that. Next.
Indy, Nick, do you think that everyone is just so skewed by fantasy football? Josh and Lamar have been excellent fantasy quarterbacks, so people assume that they are the best.
Yeah, I think that absolutely has something to do with it. I absolutely think that the crazy fantasy numbers impact this 100%. Yeah.
Noah asks, when is the Futures show going to happen? It's like soon, right? 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we have a show Thursday, then we're off for a week, and then our futures and our gambling show, it'll probably be a 2-part thing Tuesday and Thursday next week to get us ready for football season, right in line with predictions week on First Things First. And Diego says, has snakes enthusiast Kevin Wilds weighed in on Damonza's reptiles? That's a good First Things First joke, and I appreciate it. All right, reminder to everyone, like, rate, subscribe, review. Leave 5 stars. Leave a review if you'd like. I don't really care if you leave a review. I'd love you to give us the 5 stars, though. Subscribe on Spotify or iTunes, or both if you'd like, but one's just fine. And definitely subscribe on YouTube. We will be back right here on Thursday. Shout out to DraftKings. Shout out to the great people at Boost Mobile sending me the sweet sign. Shout out to Volume and Blue Duck and Damonza. And I will see you guys. I'm on with Colin in about an hour. See you guys then. What's right?